6:30, the meeting will come to order, please. First order of business is public comment. Anybody wants to be recognized, raise your hand, come to the podium, name, line, address. You got 3 minutes.
All right.
Thank you.
Good evening, Select Board members. For the record, my name is Colin Blake Butler, residing at 3 Spencer Lane. I'm here tonight regarding the potential residential development of the 125 acres at 373 Caleb Highway. As you all know, Lee taxpayers are already feeling the financial strain. The fact that the town operating budget failed in March and we are facing a special election on June 9th proves that our community is at its limit. On top of this town budget crisis, the school district explicitly informed us earlier this year, prior to the vote, that our elementary schools are nearing capacity regarding classroom sizes. If this land is converted into large-scale housing development, the sudden influx of new elementary students could push us over the edge, force a school expansion, and leave the taxpayers footing an even larger bill. The town has an arsenal of legal and financial tools to help protect taxpayers, and I'm asking this board to explore every single one of them. First, I respectfully request that this town initiate a growth management study under RSA 67422. If rapid housing development outpaces our infrastructure, the town can adopt a temporary growth management ordinance. Short of that, I ask the select board to urge the planning board to require any large residential project here to be built in phases to prevent a sudden shock to our schools. Second, I ask that the town reconsider school impact fees under RSA 67421. I realize previous boards have decided against the impact fees in the past, most recently around 2021. However, our current enrollment trajectory and town budget struggles create a very different scenario today. Exploring this would ensure developers pay a proportional share for any needed school capacity expansions, helping to protect our property taxes. Third, I hope this town will look into every regulatory tool available because that parcel sits on Little River. I ask that this town rigorously enforce our environmental overlay zones and strictly subtract all wet soils and conservation buffers from any housing density calculations. Furthermore, regarding traffic, I would ask that the select board consider proactively communicating with the New Hampshire DOT to scrutinize any driveway permit on Route 125. If the developer attempts to route access through any secondary town road to avoid DOT scrutiny, I respectfully ask the town to ensure that any necessary off-site road and intersection upgrades are fully covered at the developer's expense. Finally, I ask the select board to consult with the trustees of the trust funds and the Conservation Commission to determine the current balance of the Conservation Fund. We should be using those dedicated funds alongside grants and land trusts to explore conservation purchase before this land is permanently lost to development. This would allow us to protect the land permanently using dedicated conservation money instead of putting the burden on the general taxpayers. The community is watching closely. If this town is unable to take the lead on this, many of us are prepared to gather the 50 signatures required to trigger a special town meeting and address this through citizen petition warrant articles immediately. Thank you for your time and dedication to the town.
Thank you very much for your comment. It's appreciated. Anybody else have a comment for the board?
Can I make another one?
You can, sir.
Good evening again. For the record, my name is Colin Blake Butler. I'm residing at 3 Spencer Lane still. I wanted to make a second comment tonight regarding the Lee USA Speedway and the ongoing noise impact its operations have on the surrounding neighborhoods. I understand the Speedway is a long-standing local business, but its operations place disproportionate burden on the neighborhood. We are talking about sustained noise levels often exceeding 100 decibels for hours at a time. With the recent elimination of the Resident Pass program, local residents are now bearing the full weight of that extreme noise and traffic without the community partnership we previously relied on. In short, the abutters are taking on all of the negative impacts of the commercial entity with zero gain to the town or residents. Because of this severe imbalance, my primary request tonight is for the board to look at the noise curfew specifically for the Speedway. I know the town's general noise ordinance allows the noise until midnight on Fridays, and the track's current permit reflects that. However, I'm asking this board to amend the Speedway's operating permit to impose a strict 10 p.m. curfew for all racing track noise. Midnight is simply too late for a residential neighborhood to deal with that level of industrial noise on a weekly basis. I'm asking this board to look out for the residents on this issue. Thank you again for your time and dedication to this town.
I'm sorry, question. Where are you getting your figures from? Because we actually do sound testing.
Okay,
So where did you get that number
the
from?
100 decibels, that's typically what you're gonna be getting out of racetracks of that.
But do you actually have data to back that up, or is it
No.
just that's what we get?
That's just
in
what you
general?
typically would find at a racetrack,
Okay,
yes.
so we do testing, so
Okay.
let's look at actual facts.
Okay,
Yeah, so when we dealt with the ordinance,
yep,
we based it off of facts,
yep,
okay? We didn't just pull numbers out of the air.
okay, no problem.
And I sound monitor every race,
Yep,
and they are well within the 97 dB,
okay,
every race.
yep,
And they haven't raced past 10 o'clock yet this year.
okay, perfect.
So, and we have not received a single complaint about the racetrack
Yep, okay,
in a couple of years.
yep,
So I just wondering where you're getting complaints from, because we're not getting them.
yep. And a
So,
lot of us who are nearby just tend to, we feel the impact from it, and now that we're also losing the resident passes, it's more of an annoyance than anything.
okay. I have all the data from my sound readings.
No, I appreciate that, thank you.
In order to change the racetrack
Thank you, Tom.
ordinance, has
Yeah.
to be voted on at town meeting.
Okay.
They just can't do that,
Okay,
so you could petition or something like that.
all right, great, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? All right, let's move forward with respect to discussing the budget at this time. We do, luckily, we'd be able to put this up now at this point. So with respect to the budget, let me just open it up at this point. Were any changes made in this particular, at this time?
This does not reflect any changes. I know I had sent the board a copy with some changes initially, but this version is pretty much because there were a few small things. There was a correction that one of the audience members had pointed out regarding, it was the fire department. There were a couple of dollar lines where there was a dollar in one column and a zero in the other, and they didn't match up, that were changed. Other than that, the last column is live and will reflect any adjustments you want to make.
Thank you.
I would note, I told you, Mr. Chair, that the library was not able to join us this evening due to an illness, but the librarian, director of the library, did send me a statement. I can share with the board or read, it's rather lengthy. But the gist of it is, they do not feel they have any cuts to offer at this point.
So the purpose of this meeting is that we invited the department heads to come to make a statement. Obviously, what we're looking to do is to reduce the budget line as much as possible to a default budget. If the budget doesn't pass, we want to be somewhat prepared, but also we want to know what the effects might be if we run it down to a default budget line. So I wonder if any department heads have a comment they would like to make?
I can't offer you anything in public, it all has to be done in non-public, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've thought long and hard about how we're going about this, and I've heard concerns, because if we say something on this draft budget and then we have to change it, because, I don't know, we say we need this much for XYZ, and then we magically go to grant for XYZ, or XYZ takes twice as much money, then we have to shift money around. Is there another way of doing this as more like a narrative? For example, like if the June ballot measure fails, here are some things we're looking at possibilities based on the needs come July. I don't know what those are at the top of my head, but you know. Closing the dump to 2 days a week, or cutting new book money, or decreasing fire, like I'm just trying to think of things, like more generalized things instead of
These are all possibilities.
as a list of possibilities. I don't know that even if we make up a draft budget, if we're gonna be able to stick to it come December and something happens and we have to ship money around. And I don't know what the best way to go about it is. I think we have to give people an understanding of the possibilities, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you at this point, because nothing's in cement. These are all possibilities at this time.
Yeah.
Even if we talk about a certain thing, doesn't mean it's going to occur. I mean, obviously, some things become more important as time goes on.
And things can change, right?
That's
I mean,
correct.
between now and when this budget would go into effect, and we want to leave that open for you know, if there's an opportunity or, you know, something else happens, we need to move things around. I think the menu of possibilities approach is appropriate at this time.
So let me make a few statements, if following through that line, being that I've been around long enough and being involved with the town, I know that both the police department and the fire department and some of the transfer station fought long and hard to get a full complement. And specifically, let's talk about the fire department has been struggling for many years to get a full complement to be able to serve the town. And we struggle as a town to maintain the force in all three different departments. It seems that we get to a stage when we get almost a full complement and somebody leaves. Or, you know, or they get a better offer someplace else to some other town and we struggle again to find somebody else. So the only way to hold on to as much as we can is to provide reasonable health insurance. So let's talk fringe benefits. I think that's a big thing. You know, anybody who's working now, health insurance carries a lot of weight, even more than salary to some extent. So we want to provide a reasonable health insurance policy for employees that try to hold on to them. As Rebecca has just opened up at this point, one of the things that typical companies look at is that can you find a cheaper health insurance policy where the employees pay into it more or just don't get as much benefits. I would not want to go, I don't want to go there because I know how important it is to get health benefits and retirement benefits at this point. However, if we move in general where we can't maintain the budget that's being proposed, that's a possibility. The other possibility is that when people resign or walk off the job, we don't replace them, and that's hard. You all worked hard to get to that particular line. So I'm trying to put these possibilities that might exist that come forward as well. Or we reduce the force as much as we can, as Rebecca brought up, is that maybe, if we lose the personnel with respect to the transfer station, we can't maintain Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, or we have to cut the hours somewhere. Things don't get done. The budget as it sits right now, there's not a lot in it. Labor carries the bulk of this and the benefits that are associated with that particular labor. We can pull apart certain things in certain areas, which we've already done to begin with. It's been a very lean budget. We can work on those lines and try to remove them as much as possible, but it's still not going to get us to an area where we feel comfortable if it was a default budget. So that's my opening salvo at this point. Is there any other comments from the board at this time?
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
one piece of information that I know the board's aware of, but that I would just share. As of right now, unless something goes critically wrong in the next 4 weeks, it looks to be a reasonable surplus in the budget. That doesn't mean that we get to spend it to offset, obviously, what the budget is in fiscal year 27, but I just want to keep in mind that there's a good chance that you could have a $200,000 surplus at the end of next year, or higher, depending on the winter. And that's what is really the wild card in this budget, is how much plowing, salt, and sand we have to buy. It would more than make up for the difference if there was a mild winter, which obviously you can't bank on going into the budget, but also there's likely to be some surplus.
I think it's fiscally prudent to allow for the possibility of events like a really snowy winter, right? I mean, just to put a finer point on what you're saying, it's not that, to say that we may have a surplus is not to say that we over budgeted. It's that things were a little easier than the worst case scenario, or a little easier than, we needed to prepare for last year, right? Just to say that, it's, in order to make sure that essential services are covered, we need to account for that to a reasonable degree in the budget.
How should we proceed?
Any comments on the floor?
Okay, well, maybe, is there any non-staff things that we could take out of the budget? Does anybody come up with anything they can get rid of? And we need to go into non-public then, and then
the best
You
thing.
want to give us the RSA on that, read it?
Yes, you would make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A 32A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of public employees or the disciplining of such employee or the investigation.
All right, so moved. Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Any department head wants to go first? Just let the town administrator know.
I don't know what Karen's was, but she said she needed 5 minutes.
Karen wanted to talk about zoning.
Oh,
Mine will be quick, you'll I do mine first.
And any other opportunities.
Did you say yeah?
I did, but I'm actually not in charge. Did you say yes?
Yes.
Thank you.